Hey guys, hope you're having a great day today. My name is Daniel and I'm the High Mileage Helper. On this channel, my goal is to be able to help you learn more about the RV transporting industry, as well as give how-to videos for your truck, and then give recommendations along the way. So if this is our first time meeting, just consider subscribing, hitting the like button if you get good value. And in today's video, I'd like to share with you what turbo I went with when I replaced my turbo at almost 600,000 miles, and we'll go ahead and get right into it. So first off, just a little background of my philosophy of replacing parts. Basically, my whole agenda is to be able to replace parts with either the equal or greater value, greater quality, or more power, more efficiency, more fuel economy, whatever that may be, for any part that I do put on my truck. If I'm going to be replacing anything above stock, I would prefer it to be of a better quality. If I do have to pay a little bit more, I'm willing to do that, but I do want to make sure that it does have a actual gain, a realistic upgrade feature to it, to overall be able to give me better life, better everything for that part going into my truck. So for me, when my turbo kind of had a slow death for the last several thousand miles, I really decided to start researching, start looking up what turbos to try to get that falls within my price range at this time. And so I finally decided on a specific turbo that fell within my price range, as well as provided the upgrade that's not overkill, but also not, kind of undervaluing what I was trying to go for. So that part came from dieselpowerproducts.com. That website has a host of different parts from different manufacturers. They have a number of different things specifically for Ram trucks. Most of us drivers on the road for RV transport, we usually have Rams, and so this is a great place, a great website to go to. They're not sponsoring me. I'm not getting anything for this. I'm just telling you what I did and the experience I've had. So essentially what I did was I went on there and I wanted to still maintain my exhaust brake. I wanted to upgrade something on the turbo. I wanted to have a little bit, at the very least, of a greater, overall quality of a turbo, but without, basically buying a second house. As you can probably very quickly tell if you start looking up turbos online, man, they can get into some serious numbers in a hurry. And in my opinion, unless you're upgrading everything, fuel, air, all the different parts, you're probably not going to be getting that much of a greater result for fuel economy, because at the end of the day, if you're in RV transport, the name of the game is not rolling coal, black smoke, going crazy, getting crazy horsepower and torque numbers. Rather, it's longevity, it's fuel economy, it's efficiency, and lasting as many miles as possible for your setup. So for myself, I wanted to get something that was going to last as long as possible, but still maintain my exhaust brake, as well as be somewhat of an upgrade. Nothing too crazy, but something that will absolutely be a better option. So for me, what that was going with a Reman stock whole set HE 351VE. That's just the regular remanufactured whole set stock replacement turbo, but there's a catch with it. With this one, it actually has a upgraded billet compressor wheel. So it's got a larger wheel overall. So essentially what this means is, to my understanding, is that I'm still going to have the variable geometry turbo where the vanes open and close for low end power, and then all the way up to high end power. But essentially I'm going to have a larger, sturdier wheel, compressor wheel, to give me more air, to give me more power, to have better control, better power on the lower end, rather than just on the higher end, maybe, for the regular stock. So essentially, to me, this was a small upgrade. I know there's a host of other things you can do, you can get for having a turbo, but this was for me, just a small little upgrade to be able to go to that next level, maybe a little bit, to get a little bit better fuel economy. Obviously, going from a dead turbo to a functioning, brand new, even a remanufactured turbo that's would have been stock, let alone having a bigger wheel. Of course, I'm going to regain a whole bunch of fuel economy probably, and since then I've gone up 2, maybe 3, depending on wind and other factors, and how far I am actually, how fast I actually am going. I definitely have seen a fuel economy increase, loaded and empty. There's other factors, of course, going into the whole truck's efficiency, but from the air side of things, I definitely do notice a uptick in boost in the response time of things. So I'm going to break down just my purchase and share with you what all did go into this. I did not just buy a turbo, so let me kind of unpack these things, and I'll start with the overall price first, which is probably what you're most concerned about. How deep does the wallet go? So I'll go ahead and get right into that. All right, guys, so my total price out the door, taxes, shipping, everything that I paid for this turbo setup that I got was $2,364.61. To me, that seems like a more than reasonable price, even just for a regular stock turbo. I know depending on where you go, you could probably get just a regular stock generic without any upgrades at all. Maybe at that price, maybe it might even cost more than that for a regular stock turbo. That's not including labor, of course, but essentially that's just including the parts. And so what actually went into this is not just the turbo. Like I said, I actually got another part with it. This video is not necessarily about this other part, but this is the setup that I went with for my truck. And again, my truck is a Ram 3500 2012 with the 6.7 Cummins. And so the other part that I got with this stock replacement whole set with a upgraded billet compressor wheel was a ATS. So an ATS pulse flow direct replacement exhaust manifold, and that's from the 7.5 to 18 6.7 Cummins engine. And so essentially what this exhaust manifold did was basically just allow more air to travel out of the engine for the exhaust side to be able to get down into the turbo, to be able to get pushed out. Or sucked out, depending on how you look at that. So essentially, I upgraded my exhaust manifold from the stock to an ATS Power Flow, I believe it's what it was called, and then added the new turbo. So essentially, I'm able to get more air out, which I believe would mean you're able to get more air in on the other side of the turbine. So this ATS Power Flow exhaust manifold was $470.25. This was just a slight upgrade as well that I wanted to do. If I'm going to be replacing the turbo while I'm down in there, getting in the nitty gritty, I wanted to go with a bigger exhaust manifold to help more air get out of there quicker. I don't know to what degree this plays into the factor as far as fuel economy and other things, but I do know that bigger, larger manifold exhaust systems are able to get more air pushed out. Just by simply looking at my old manifold versus my new one, looking at the holes, looking at everything, it is so much bigger than my stock exhaust manifold. So I do believe it does play a part. To the degree that it does, I don't know. I put the value of $470 at being worth a shot, being worth the risk of putting on a brand new one that's much larger. And so of course that was just my decision. You don't have to get a brand new exhaust manifold setup. I chose to do that for myself. You don't have to. That was an extra almost $500 plus a part of the shipping that went into that. I'll be breaking that down in a little bit here. And so $470 for the new, much larger ATS exhaust manifold. Okay, and so the actual turbo itself, what it costs on their website, again, dieselpowerproducts.com, is $1,599 plus a $500 core charge. Now, pretty much every place you go online, you're going to find they're going to say, hey, there's a $500 core charge, there's a however many $100 core charge. Usually it's 500s. I've seen some 400 as well. But essentially what that means is that they want to get your old turbo from you so that they can, you know, sell that or send it off to somebody to be able to remanufacture that one, for that to be put out again, to be able to reuse those parts for the next, you know, turbo build, that they're going to use those parts that are still functioning to go towards. So so that's $500. So obviously if you actually do return the core charge, that's $500 less. But the really nice thing about dieselpowerproducts.com is that you can opt out for that core charge. So essentially you're not going to be charged that $500 extra right off the bat. You don't have to wait to get your money back from them initially selling you the turbo and then you sending the core back to them in the mail, and then they release the $500 back to you. You can literally opt out of the core charge so that you don't even have to pay that extra $500. So essentially, if you're able to return that thing within a certain time limit, you really are only going to have to pay basically $1,600 instead of that extra $500 core charge. You have to play with them basically until it gets back and it gets returned to you after you send them the old one. So $1,600 for that, $470 for the exhaust manifold, and then I paid $140.67 for 3-day shipping. There's a number of different prices for shipping, obviously depending on where you're at, makes a huge difference. For me, I was paying $140. Of course, these are heavy items. These are not to be messed around with. It comes in a large box, and it's a heavy beast. They pack it to make sure it's secure and it was safe. I had no issues with it whatsoever, but it's not a lightweight thing. And so, of course, there's some serious shipping costs that comes with it. If you can wait it out and you're not planning on, needing it to get, installed immediately, maybe you can save some money there. I suppose I could have saved some money and waited a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, I needed my turbo installed as soon as possible. If you didn't already see the video, the live stream, fair winds, Casey, he was here to help me. We did a live stream. I think we did some other stuff as well, but he was a huge help to me installing that turbo. And I know I've already talked about him helping me out, but I really seriously do appreciate him helping me install this new one and the exhaust manifold. It was a full job. We ended up breaking a few things that were already basically needed to be replaced anyway, so that was a help. But essentially, we're getting those two things installed. It took us a day and some change, just simply because we started at odd times, but it was not that bad of a job, to be honest, besides a few things on the bottom side, getting the oil and the coolant lines bolted on to the actual turbo itself. Yeah, so that's what I paid for the shipping, $140.67, and then the sales tax for everything was $154.69. So add that all up together, $2,069.25 for the two parts, the shipping, the sales, and that adds it up back to $2,364.61 for a new turbo and a new exhaust manifold for my truck. So I believe that was a decent enough upgrade for the exhaust side. For the turbo, your truck has got to have air. It's got to have a working turbo with working vanes that open and close. If you do have a VGT turbo, it needs to be working properly. Mine was leaking. Mine had severe issues. The exhaust brake was not working a good portion of the time. It was leaking into the boost tube. There was a number of factors that went into the failure of my turbo kind of dying on me. If you haven't already seen that video, go ahead and check out my my video talking about the different things that contributed to that turbo dying or lasting as long as it did, almost 600,000 miles. That's nothing to be too upset about. I feel like I got my money's worth, So for this new one, I do hope I continue to have success with it. Right now I've got no issues, no problems at all, no codes, no leaking. First of all, no oil leaks on my driveway. I've got to get those cleaned off. I've got no issues with boost, nothing at all. Everything seems to be running just fine, and actually a little bit better than that for fuel economy's sake, and for just response time, getting onto the highway, going on the on-ramps and putting the pedal down and actually getting response from my turbo with the engine and everything. So anyways, just wanted to talk through this. I know turbos and probably injectors and transmissions are probably the biggest things that get a lot of publicity, or whatever you want to say, in Facebook groups and stuff like that. And I know when it comes down to it, and it really comes down to the price, how much money do you have in your maintenance account or maybe catastrophic account? What do you have to play with to be able to replace your turbo and to be able to get back on the road? At the end of the day, for you to be sitting there to be able to order a turbo, install it yourself, save some money, or maybe you have to pay somebody else to do it. But to be able to replace your turbo, yeah, maybe you have to pay a little bit more than you really wanted to. But the truth is, if you had waited longer, maybe for the right deal that comes along, or the right, unicorn of turbos at the right price, at the perfect situation, somebody's getting rid of their old one that's brand new or something somehow, that's few and far between. And if you just go ahead and find the right turbo for your truck, that's maybe a little bit of an upgrade. But if you're like me, you want to find that turbo that's the right upgrade for you, that's not overkill, that's not also just leaving it stock. I believe this is probably the best case scenario for me. In another 600,000 miles, I will be probably buying the same thing, or maybe a slightly more upgraded, who knows, of a turbo for this setup that I have. So we'll kind of see how things go. I'll definitely keep you updated along the way with this turbo, but I don't have any issues at all so far, and I'm very pleased with it. I've got over 10,000, probably closer to 15,000 miles on it already, and again, no issues whatsoever. I think it's a good quality product. I'm happy with the exhaust manifold as well. Dieselpowerproducts.com. Again, I'm not getting anything from this. I'm just shouting them out. They've got a whole bunch of different products from different manufacturers. They've got good stuff, and so I'm just pleased with them as well. The shipping on the actual manifold did take a little bit longer, I will say that, but of course, with things in our country going on right now, I understand shipping can be difficult, can be lag behind. So it is what it is for that. But yeah, I just wanted to be a help to you, putting this video out in case you are approaching that point where your turbo is about to fail. Maybe it already did, and you're sitting there just scratching your head. Well, what am I going to do? I haven't even considered what turbo I'm going to get. There's more options out there than just stock at some reasonable prices. I think $2,300. That's pretty reasonable, and that's not just the turbo, that's adding something else with it, so it would have been even cheaper with this one. So it's my hope to be able to be a help to you with your truck in this industry, to be able to help you stay on the road, to be productive, profitable. And with all that being said, just hopefully you have a great day today. Stay safe, guys, and God bless.